love the chase and the hunt, and I set the pace when I'm running. I always take what I want and I always give it 100. Don't need a bank, no I'm funded. Play the game like it's nothing. I'm always thankful for something. Don't take for granted, stay humble. Now wake up! It's time to look at the enemy. Look in the mirror if he is no friend to me. It's not working out, maybe it's the chemistry. It's time to break up so I can make a better me.
Hello, Miami. Thank you so much for watching 305 Sports Now. I am your host, Will, and it is great to be a Miami Hurricane. The legal drama is over. There's a settlement, and Darian Mensah is officially a Miami Hurricane. But he didn't just come alone. He brought his buddy with him, Cooper Barkate, his top wide receiver this past season with the Duke Blue Devils. Forgive me for that one, guys. All right, so it has been nice to see. We were all concerned early on about the Miami Hurricanes having a quarterback next season. Emory Williams hit the portal. We're wondering if we have to ride with Luke Nickel, which I'm not gonna lie to you, I was okay with, because the fact of the matter is, it was what it was. But lo and behold, Mario Cristobal does it again, and man, did he do it. He probably got the best quarterback in the transfer portal in Darian Mensah, and how sweet it is. Darian Mensah, who is going to be a great asset to this team. He's also going to be a great leader, great character, as has been stated about him as well, and is going to have a lot of weapons to throw to and hand the ball off to as well. So let me break down Mensah's numbers again, as I did earlier, when I first did a possible cane with him. All right, but I just want to go over his stats again last season. Over with Duke, he had a phenomenal year. He was only second behind in passing to, of course, the Heisman Trophy winner, Fernando Mendoza. 3,973 yards, a completion percentage of 66.8%, 34 touchdowns and 6 interceptions, 7.9 yards per attempt, and a QB rating of 153.6. But the one thing I do want to talk about, and I got to give props to Alex Dano, he did a great job on Locked On Canes breaking this young man down. All right. And he is, well, first, he's a gamer. All right. He took, in a winning effort, he took Clemson 46-45 in a phenomenal game against Clemson. But I want to go over his actual numbers, okay, as far as in terms of yardage situation goes, etc. Just give me 1 minute, guys, as I look up his numbers. Okay, he had a pretty much a 92% completion percentage, because it's talking about his efficiency. And I'm talking about like screens, quick throws, etc. I mean, it was kind of like an air raid-ish, Rhett Lashley-ish offense that they ran over in Duke. And they had to throw the ball a lot because Duke, was behind quite a bit. So like basically like 10-yard throws, 5-yard throws, and like the screens, which are pretty easy throws. He had about 554 yards passing with 2 touchdowns, 92% completion percentage. In the RPO game, all right, he had completed 68% of his passes for over 1,200 yards, 15 touchdowns, and 1 pick. With deep shots, though, this is where it gets interesting. He deep shots are like, throwing the ball, like 40 yards plus and stuff like that. And it was about, he completed 32 of 86 passes, 37.2%. But he made the best of it with over 1,085 yards, 13 touchdowns, and 2 interceptions on his deep throws. So it was just when he made it count, pretty much 13 touchdowns is nothing to sneeze at, in terms of pretty much having distance. All right, as well. And what I really wanted to go with, let me see if I can find the numbers, are his numbers on his completion percentage, 20 yards and under. Okay, under 20 yards, all right, under 20 yards, he completed 302 passes, 414 attempts, but he had a 73% completion percentage, 72.9 to be exact. All right, so he's very efficient in short yard situations where he basically, we got the ball out quickly, under 3 seconds and so on. And he was just phenomenal at doing that. And again, at Duke in general, he had to do that because the bottom line is that Duke, had to come from behind on a lot of occasions. And that is why he did what he needed to do as far as in terms of pass delivery. But again, he's very efficient. I think he's like the best of both worlds of Cam Ward and Carson Beck, because he's not as dependent on a clean pocket like Carson Beck was. Okay, but I think he has a little bit more touch, and throwing the football downfield than Cam Ward had. So it's kind of the best of both worlds. But he's a guy. He's a playmaker. He could run for first downs if he needs to, like Ward did. Ward was a pass first quarterback, but if he had to run and show off his speed, in general, Ward would do that. Ward was a bit more powerful, I would say. He's much more of a physical quarterback, as Ward was able to break tackles as well, as we saw in the Virginia Tech game. when they had trouble bringing him down, and that nice little shovel pass over to Riley Williams that helped win us the football game in 2024. And Mensah is not like that. He's not as big and powerful like Ward, but he is a bit twitchy. He is shifty, and he'll be able to get away from sacks as well and extend plays and give time for his receivers if they need to break off their routes, break off their man, and get open as well. So that's what makes me really excited about Darian Mensah becoming our quarterback. Plus, once again, as been mentioned, we can go back to having, going back to having a very wide open 5 wide out set, a little bit more pass happy that we had in 2024 than we did in 2025, which is very run heavy, tight formations throughout the process as well, much more surgical, not many deep shots that were taken. Miami's offense is slated to be more explosive this year than it was last year because of Darian Mensah being able to extend plays, and also because of the acquisitions in the transfer portal, but also the acquisitions as well in terms of recruiting. All right, so this is just pretty much what Darian Mensah has to throw to. Okay, of course he's got Malachi Toney. All right, and we all know what Malachi Toney is capable of. Malachi Toney is probably the second best receiver in the nation, only behind Jeremiah Smith. Yes, I said second best. All right, what I mean by this, he's a top 2 receiver. Okay, he's gonna have, of course, Vandravis Jacobs, who was a deep threat for South Carolina last year. Okay, I'm sure Clemson remembers him very well. Cam Vaughn, who's kind of like a CJ Daniels type. Okay, he has Cam Vaughn as well. Cooper Barkate, his buddy over at Duke. We're going to talk a bit more about him as the show goes as well. But then also Elijah. We hope it takes the next step. Elijah Lofton. He's going to have Gavin Mueller, Izzy Briggs as well, Luca Gilbert at tight end as well. Milan Paris, Samar Wingo. I heard has been killing it in practice. All right, as well. Vance Spafford, who's a very, very, very speedy receiver out of California, runs a 4.3. So we have guys this year that can blow the top off of defensive backs if they're not careful. Then let's not even talk about the running game. All right, you have like basically a 4 to 5 head monster with Mark Fletcher coming back, Marty Brown, Gerard Pringle, Jordan Lyle, Javion Mallory, adding number 6 Chris Wheatley-Humphrey as well. 6 running backs that you can hand the ball off to or throw it out in terms of checkdowns that could do insane damage to defenses as well. The offensive line is going to be very young. All right. So I think that's why I really wanted a transfer portal quarterback, because although the offensive line, I do believe, is extremely talented, okay, with guys like Ryan Rodriguez, Matt McCoy, SJ Lafaituli, as well, Jackson Cantwell coming in, the acquisition of Jamal Merriweather. I think the offensive line is still going to be pretty steady, pretty good. But I do think having a veteran quarterback like Darian Mensah to navigate the inexperience on game day with these guys throughout early on in the season, especially, is going to be very good for this football team as they build, more synergy and stuff like that amongst each other. And you can have, once again, the elite offensive line that you had in the previous 2 years with Ward, with Beck. So listen, I'm not worried about the line there, but I know it's tough to replace Anez Cooper, Francis Mauinoa, okay, Markel Bell as well. So I do think that's not easy to replace. All right, but we do have studs that are gonna very, very happy to fill in that role. So I'm very excited to see how the line looks as well. So yeah, man, that offense is gonna be pretty sick, man. It's gonna be pretty sick. It's gonna be pretty intense. It's gonna be a lot of fun to watch. It's gonna give defensive coordinators a lot of nightmares watching these young men just flat out ball this season. So now I want to talk a little bit about Cooper Barkate. Okay, Cooper Barkate is the receiver. All right, was Duke's leading receiver last season. Okay, he has 72 catches, 1,106 yards, 15 yards per catch, and 7 touchdowns. Longest catch was a 77-yard reception from Darian Mensah. Played 14 games, all right, as well. Okay, he had his best game. Let me see if I can check it out. I think it was against Clemson, if I'm not mistaken. Actually, he had his best game against Georgia Tech. All right, 13 catches, 172 yards in that game. Okay, he had no touchdowns, but he did have 1 touchdown against Clemson. Had a very good game against Clemson as well, with 6 catches, 127 yards, averaging 21 yards per catch in that game, and he had a touchdown. Okay, Cooper Barkate is quite interesting. Aside from the numbers that you see there as well, he's very fast. He came from Harvard. If you wonder why I'm doing the accent, if you're in your late 30s, early to mid 40s, you know exactly where that comes from, all right? Being Saved by the Bell, etc. But the bottom line is this kid is an absolute stud, okay? With 1,100 yards receiving, as well for 72 catches. He was obviously Darren Mensah's favorite target on his football team. Comes with him. So basically Miami gets a 2-for-1 special. But if you're thinking like, oh, he's an Ivy League kid, he came from Duke, how good is he really? This young man had offers from UCLA, Arkansas, and Oregon. And he chose, to go to Harvard because he wanted to better himself. Okay, did his time in Harvard, goes to Duke, balls out. His quarterback hits the portal, follows him along, joins the University of Miami, and it's going to be a intense season for these two because now the good thing about this is that if you notice towards the latter end of the season, you start to see a lot of bracketing of Malachi Toney. They start doing double teams of Malachi Toney. Now it's like pick your poison because you can't bracket Malachi Toney because Cooper Barkate's going to eat, Jones is going to eat, Vaughn can eat as well. Joshua Moore is another one too, Samar and Wingo as well. So it's going to be pretty much, like I said, it's going to be a 2024 S season because you couldn't really key in on anybody on skill position players because any one of those guys could beat you. And the thing is, the interesting part about the 2024 season is that a lot of these guys were good at getting open, but they didn't get a lot of separation. These guys are good at getting open and they can get separation, right, as well. So our offense, again, is going to be very elite this upcoming season. Again, I'm excited for the Stanford game. I think it's going to be a lot of fun, going over there and hopefully defeating Stanford. I don't want to get too cocky, but hopefully defeating Stanford. But I don't see why they can't. Miami's way too talented at the skill position. The defense is going to look very good as well. Corey had them in year 2 in that system. How much he got out of his players last season and how much I expect, and everyone expects him to do this year as well. Very heady defensive coordinator and gets the best out of his players as well. But again, the offense, I'm so excited because I do feel that now we are a complete football team. Elite on offense and elite on defense. A top 10 to top 15 offense, a top 10 to top 15 defense. And that is a recipe for a historic run this season towards a national championship. All right, ladies and gentlemen, let me know what you guys think, all right? If you like what you heard, please do not forget to like, share, and subscribe to 305 Sports Now. Once again, I am Will. Stay safe. God bless. Go Canes, guys. All about the U. Bye-bye.